The first step of adapting any comic book into a movie is deciding the look of the costume. The costume determines the tone of the movie. Is it a bright, happy movie about a hero who saves cats in trees, or a movie about a mopey alien hitchhiker who lets his father die? In a lot of ways, the costume is the movie. The first superhero feature, Batman the Movie, was made for kids. Batman and Robin fight crime in their underwear, and 9-year-olds thought it was amazing. In the 30s, Batman was a murdering badass, but by the 60s, he was riding tandem bikes with Robin and Superman, so a man wearing pantyhose was pretty accurate to the comic. Good job, Batman. You're a very good Batman. In 1979, Superman the Movie had the tagline, "You will believe a man can inspire America while wearing pajamas." Richard Donner and Mario Puzo made Superman the Movie one of the bravest films of all time. Superman, objectively, looks ridiculous, and they start off with a 30-minute opening that's more like a PBS production of King Lear. It's slow, dark, boring, and I love it. The only color in the whole sequence is Baby Kal-El's blanket, because in this movie, Superman is actually draped in bright colors. And when he travels to the Arctic, Clark is essentially returning to the bleak landscape of Krypton. But he emerges looking both badass and fabulous. When Superman finally flies for the first time and starts saving people, we've earned the bright colors, and the movie suddenly becomes a live comic book.
There's this flat screen on the inside with pictures on it, and you read it.
Shut up, Joss Baskins, you're poor now. We invented iPads. Superman's costume didn't change for the next 3 movies, but by then the genre was ready for a hot bat injection. When Batman came out of his cave in 1989, the studio wanted a hero we could take seriously, so they squeezed Beetlejuice into a giant rubber condom. Adam West's blue and gray Batgut was replaced with a black armored six-pack.
I'm Batman.
And you always will be to me. Over the years, all superhero movies drift somewhere between Adam West camp and Ben Affleck cutting himself.
To see if I still feel.
Just like the 60s movie, this reflected
dial at the time.
Batman had a rough time in the 80s. His sidekick was beaten to death by the Joker, he and Superman broke up, Batgirl was paralyzed, and his girlfriend was retconned into being a prostitute. Tim Burton went full Tim Burton in 1992's Batman Returns. He scared the hell out of kids with psychotic clowns, a zombie-faced sewer mayor, a dominatrix with PTSD, and, most terrifying, Christopher Walken. The tone swung too far dark, and Warner's hired Joel Schumacher for one job: don't scare the kids.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
So we got a different Batman, but Alfred was still here, so screw it. Same Batman, new face. We still got some of the dark stuff, but there was Jim Carrey and some scenes in daylight, so the kids were happy. And these mugs, I still have these mugs. Val Kilmer's Batsuit, like the movie, deviated from Burton's but didn't go full Bat-Tusi. Batman and Robin still wore armor, but it was deep blue and red. The bat symbol was enlarged, but the classic yellow was gone. Overall, the suits remained dark but became more colorful, kind of like the movie itself. That brings us to 1997's Batman and Robin, one of the founding road apples in the comic book movie turd pile. The new Batsuits were glistening insults to the Burton films. They kept the armor, but now it was bright blue and silver, which is crap for being Batman, but great for making shiny toys toddlers want to jam into their mouths.
Batman, Robin, and Batgirl united against a new evil.
But hey, that was the point of the movie, to sell toys. The problem is, it didn't sell toys, but it did bat-screw a lot of careers. Warner Brothers got the message. Camp sucks, let Batman be Batman. New director Christopher Nolan wanted Batman to feel real, so the new uniform is more action than action figure, featuring military-grade hardware. This was the first superhero that felt real, like we weren't spending time in his universe, he was spending time in ours. Bryan Singer's 2006 Superman Returns was a sequel to 1980's Superman 2, pretending Superman 3 and 4 never existed. Oh, but not a sequel to the actual Superman 2, but to the Richard Donner's director's cut of Superman 2, which you only saw if you bought the DVD, in which case you're probably playing with your Superman action figures while you watch this video.
Me?
The Superman Returns suit was pretty much the same, except the S shrunk while Superman was out in space looking for his dad. In fact, there's a lot of stuff about dads in this movie. There's Maury Povich-style paternity questions when Superman finds out he abandoned his infant son and that he's letting another man raise his kid. Yeah, my dad went into space to buy cigarettes and he never came home. Looking to put the lighthearted Green Lantern and Superman Returns behind them, Warner Brothers was ready to say screw it and make everybody miserable. They turned to Zack Snyder, a serious superhero director who wasn't afraid to show sparkling blue candor in The Watchmen. Man of Steel was the most controversial superhero film ever made, but the new Superman suit does match the tone of the franchise. This is a Superman who is more man than super. He spends the entire film struggling to choose. Should he reveal his powers to the world? Should he turn himself over to Zod? For most of the film, his costume is desaturated, mirroring this indecision. But when he fights Zod's forces on the streets of Smallville, his suit finally shows the signature reds and blues. I wish I could say that the suit stayed saturated, but you know. Now the big one, Batman vs. Superman. This is a movie about two superheroes who hate being superheroes. First, Batman. He's a depressed billionaire who burns people with a cattle brand or murders them with guns. Like the other murdering Batman from the 1930s, he wears a dark gray ensemble with the black bat symbol spread across his chest. It more directly references the famous comic book Dark Knight Returns, where Batman is a grizzled old bastard. Batman's armor in this movie is symbolic of his figurative and literal thick skin. This version of Batman is older. He's more cynical, and he's experienced a lot of loss. Even though this suit doesn't look like armor, we take it for granted that it's armor. There's even a scene where Batman gets shot in the head, and we're all like, that bad guy doesn't know who he's messing with. Batman's got a magic head. Superman is actually allowed to wear blue and red in this movie, which creates a nice contrast to Batman. So Batman is cranky grandpa, but Superman is much nicer and does sex to Lois Lane in a bathtub. When Wonder Woman is introduced, she's part of the same washed out palette as the rest of the film. But in her own film, the color of her costume begins oversaturated to reflect the idyllic life of her Amazonian home. But after she leaves the island, the corrupting influence of man's world gradually desaturates her costume. Her suit is also a perfect combination of Greek battle armor and her traditional uniform. Over the years, the Marvel films have gradually made their characters look less realistic and more like the original comics, while the DC films have gone from direct copies of the comics page to creating their own grounded universe. Whether or not you like these new DC films, they have created a defined style for the world that is a reflection of the suits the heroes wear. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.